In this example, we're going to explore what happens when we multiply the inside of a function by a negative number. So we've already observed that when we multiply the inside of a function, here I've got w of x with a number representing the, an inside multiplier, b. When I let that number be bigger than 1, we've observed that the graph gets compressed horizontally, while when that number on the inside of the function is less than 1, the graph gets stretched horizontally. So now we want to know what happens when that number is negative. So what I'll do is I'll adjust the slider so that we can get access to negative numbers, and maybe we can quickly review what we've already learned about what happens when the number is -1. Recall when we multiply the inside of a function by the number -1, we reflect the graph about the y-axis. So for example, this point here at about -1, 2 flips over the y-axis and lands at +1, 2. And again, this point here at almost 2, -4 flips over the y-axis and lands around -2, -4. So when we multiply the inside of a function by a negative number, we reflect about the y-axis. It turns out that when we multiply by a kind of more interesting negative number, like let's say the number -2, we get the effects of both the number +2 and the number -1. So recall when the number was +2, we compressed the graph horizontally by a factor of 1/2, and when the number is negative, we reflect about the y-axis. So when we have a negative number on the inside, we get the behavior effect of the absolute value of that negative number. So since the absolute value of -2 is +2, it will get compressed by a factor of 1/2. And then we also get the effects of multiplying by a negative number, which is a reflection about the y-axis. So we can go ahead and try a negative number less than between -1 and 0. And we see that when numbers are between positive 1 and 0, the graph gets stretched horizontally. So when we make that negative, we still get the stretch, but we also get a reflection about the y-axis. So when we multiply by a negative number on the inside of the function, we get the effects of the number -1, which is a reflection about the y-axis, and we also get the effects of the absolute value of that number, whether or not we're going to stretch horizontally or compress horizontally.